Alright everyone, I keep seeing the legacy media invoke the concept of a war on the free press, a war on the media over and over again. I'm thinking to myself, again, you gotta know linguistics, dissect language a little bit. Their fundamental claim is totally true. There's definitely a war on the free press and on the First Amendment in this country. It's just not directed at them. It's not directed at multi-billion-dollar, often multinational firms like CNN. They do what they want. Them being criticized by Trump or by anyone else, it's not a breach of their First Amendment rights. When CNN shows up with their press credentials, they go to a rally, they go to a meeting, they go wherever they go, and they get heckled, that's not a violation of their First Amendment rights. It can rise to the level of harassment. It can certainly rise to the level of credible threat situationally, but simply someone saying, hey, you're fake news, and then flipping them off and wandering in the other direction is not a criminal act. It's not violating their rights. It's just a statement that someone is tired of their fucking propaganda. And it's corporate propaganda, by the way. The First Amendment only loosely applies to some of these companies because they're government co-opted. If you've got a company, their parent company donates money to, they get kickbacks from in the form of interviews or exclusives or whatever from politicians, elected officials. They rub elbows with them. They go and meet with them. They constantly try to give them policy advice. How is that the same as someone who hooks up a webcam and simply gives their own opinion about like politics or something? There is a difference between the two. The latter is the more genuine use of the press. Look, we always have to talk about this when they talk about press rights. Press rights in the sense of the First Amendment, as it was held in the mid-1700s, means the printing press. Any form of information distribution that is not done in an interpersonal manner. If it's interpersonal, it's covered by the First Amendment under free speech. You have the right to speak, as in what I'm doing now, but if you were here in the room. Because you're not here in the room with me, it falls under the freedom of the press. I am literally creating information, distributing it in a semi-tangible form with regards to the digital era. It is explicitly covered under the First Amendment. It is explicitly an activity of the press. Absolutely and completely. Otherwise, how the hell would a cable broadcast, how the hell would that be under it? How would that be a freedom of the press? I mean, it's not a book. It's not a newspaper. I'm sure people at the time, I wonder if they made that argument. Like, you know, when the TV era began, did people say, well, maybe it's not covered fully under the First Amendment because it's not a physical medium. You know, it's a digital broadcast. It's, you know, going out across wires or across the airwaves or something to your antenna and then into your shitty TV with the bunny ears that you have to tape into weird positions in order to get the signal. By the way, you know, even in the 90s, there were a handful of people that had that. Still in, I don't know elsewhere, but certainly in Vermont, a handful of people still did. I can remember it actually didn't work that badly for local stations. But no, they're not, there's no war against CNN. They're free to report what they want, but they're going to get criticized if they're not telling the truth. Like during the election, when they said, hey, WikiLeaks, you can't read those releases, it's illegal, let us analyze them for you. That is a lie. That is a form of propaganda that they conducted on behalf of the Democratic Party to try to keep people from looking into the email leaks, to keep them from looking at Clinton's emails and Podesta's emails. It was not true. It is a lie. For people to point that out, criticize them, tell them that they are liars, whether in person or whether they're doing it online, criticize them, that's not a violation of their First Amendment rights at all. Likewise, it doesn't violate the First Amendment rights of people in the alt media when the legacy media attacks us and says, well, you know, you're bigoted or whatever. No, that doesn't violate your rights. You're free to speak out against it. Only when it rises to the level of defamation, as it often does, by the way, then it becomes a violation of your rights. Now, of course, it's unprosecuted most of the time because the alt media doesn't have enough fiscal resources yet to go up against the kind of lawyers that are hired by a CNN or a BuzzFeed. But the time will come. Yeah, they'll get theirs. We'll have our day in court. Let them defame us all they want for right now. There's plenty, you know, it never goes away once it's on the internet, so the evidence is always going to be there. Statute of limitations on that is lengthy enough. We've got time to bide our time and pull together and pool some resources for a class action or something in the future. Yeah, pretty soon we're going to own some of their corporations, by the way. The alt media is just going to rip them apart and take them over. Hopefully they'll be better then. Hopefully we just fucking sell it back off for $1 after destroying all their servers and equipment so it's fucking totally worthless. Use it as a tax write-off. Yeah, it's related to my work. Yeah, I make YouTube videos, and now I bought BuzzFeed. So, you know, I went in with an axe, destroyed everything, fired everyone. Now I'm selling it for $1, but I can still write it off. See, I took a loss, so you can't tax me. You give me a rebate. It'd be very, very funny when that eventually happens. And it will. In due time, some of the more successful people in alt media will be buying up the old guard media firms. It will happen. But no, CNN is not. No one's at war with CNN. Nobody's violating their precious First Amendment rights. Look, you can say whatever you want, but expect to be heckled if you're going to lie about people. If your coverage is totally lopsided, Pew Research, it's an unbiased group. You've got to trust them on something like this. They looked at the articles that were made, the broadcasts, the newsprint, whatever, by these different firms. CNN, it's totally lopsided. Virtually all of it is negative towards alt tech, towards the alt media, and certainly against our president. And against the Republicans in a more general sense, but not as much. It's specifically against Trump. And so if you've thrown in and said, well, MAGA, or you said, well, I voted for Trump, or yeah, I don't think he's Hitler, you know, you don't even like the dude, but you don't hate him, then you get lumped in by these firms as being an evildoer, as having done something wrong, and they'll defame you for it. They'll attack you because you're their competitor. It's basically an easy way to fire upon you. That's what it boils down to. Oh, this person supports evil bigot Trump and his evil border ideas. They believe in borders. They must be a Nazi or something. War on the press. Yeah, there's a war on the press. The war is being waged by the legacy media trying to constantly stifle its competitors. It's smaller alt media competitors. Some of them aren't even smaller at this point. Like Paul Joseph Watson probably pulls in way more views than anybody on CNN. It's actually hilarious. Like when I'm looking at some of the statistics for these legacy media firms, especially when they're trying to make the transition to the alt media, it's like with MTV News, they have a YouTube channel. And their YouTube channel, it's like it gets left in the dust by a bunch of independent commentators who don't have $1 million budget and a staff of dozens of people. And it's really funny. Or you look at like Right Wing Watch, some of these older firms, or again, even a CNN. It's like, yeah, we're gaining all sorts of subscribers on YouTube. Well, why aren't they interacting with, watching, and liking your content? It's because those people are only subscribing because YouTube is constantly forcing you down their throat. Most of them are just there to troll and downvote. That's what ultimately happens. Fuck CNN. Nobody cares about you. BuzzFeed and all these other groups, Huffington Post. And that includes, by the way, groups on the right, like a Breitbart. Fuck Breitbart. Fuck The Blaze. Drudge is the only one that makes any sense, and mostly Matt Drudge just amalgamates other people's material on his, his sort of text-only 90s-style website that he keeps as a trophy from the Clinton era. It's hilarious. No, the alt media is where it's at. These people think that it's a war on free speech because someone criticized him. Oh my God. It's terrible. They got heckled by a 70-year-old woman. Jim Acosta felt very, 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 very scared at that. Oh my God, someone flipped him off. Again, it appeared to be a young female who did so. Oh my God. Oh, it's a war. It's so terrible. It's like a war zone outside. I'll go over to Fallujah and report. I'll put a bulletproof vest on and wade into a riot and report. I feel just fine. But oh my God, I was at this Trump rally and someone said I was fake news. I broke down in tears and fled the room immediately, fearing for my life. What are you talking about? That's a bunch of bullshit. And you know that it's bullshit. It's the same thing. That's like if a Fox News crew shows up at the Clinton rally and they get called far right. Oh my God, it's so terrible. Yeah, you wouldn't react by assuming that was legitimate. These same liberals that are siding with Acosta or CNN or any of their contemporaries, they wouldn't do that. If the claim was made on the other side, they would realize how stupid it sounded. They'd say, oh, well, you sound juvenile, fucking little snowflake. Well, no shit. CNN acts the exact same way. When I see them playing the pity card. No, they're playing the pity card because they're losing. Because their ratings have tanked. Because their ratings are down so much, they're worried about having to jettison their staff or sell off one of their news copters or something like that. They're worried about having to sell off a bunch of shit in order to make ends meet. That's why they're playing the pity card. They want to get more attention. That's about all. Peace out.